to our May 26, 2022 Board Business Meeting. Welcome to our board members, MCPS staff, and members of our community who are joining us today via live stream on the MCPS website and MCPS TV. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the horrific events that recently occurred in Uvalde, Texas. Innocent lives of children and teachers were lost as a result of unimaginable acts of violence. We stand in solidarity with the families, teachers, students, and the entire Uvalde community as we keep them in our thoughts and prayers while they attempt to heal from this tragedy. Let us pause for a moment of silence to honor them. We also recognize that our own students have been impacted by these events. They may feel afraid or anxious about their own safety or the safety of their family. We are committed to ensuring the well-being of our students and staff and our school personnel. Our school personnel are equipped with resources to support them in this difficult time. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. McKnight if you would like to say something also.
Thank you so much, President Wolf, and good afternoon, everyone. This is indeed a very somber note to start a meeting on. Very, very difficult place for Uvalde, Texas at Robb Elementary School, but I would venture to say that every single school system that witnessed that, every parent, every community felt the impact of what happened. It was tragic to not only that community, but everyone else. There were 19 beautiful, innocent children and 2 wonderful teachers who lost their lives. And the scariest thing that can ever happen for anyone is to send your child to school and then not have them to return. And with that said, we are all saddened and support them. And as we think about our support for them, it's also important for us to continue to reflect and think about all the things that we do to comfort our own children and our own families and our parents and our school community as they navigate through everyone feeling differently and walking into their buildings feeling very differently the day after this community was impacted. So I just say we all have to remain very vigilant and work together to do everything in our power to make sure that we keep our students, our staff, and our community members safe as we navigate these very different circumstances. And most importantly, make sure that we are establishing welcoming spaces for our students, but again, acknowledging that it is safe. So we have been talking with our principals, and we'll continue to talk with them as they stand as a very good representative of their school communities around how we will continue to wrap our arms around everyone and comfort them. So thank you so much for that, President Wolf.
Now let us begin by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic on which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now call the roll to recognize board members to establish that we have a quorum, starting with Dr. Daka, who's joining us on Zoom. Well, she was joining us just a second ago, so at this time, then I'll go to Ms. O'Looney.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Ms. Harris.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Ms. Mandrowski.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Silvestri.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Joftis.
Hello.
Dr. Daka.
I'm here.
And we're also joined by our interim superintendent, Dr. McKnight. Now we can begin the meeting, but before we do, I need to revise the agenda to remove consent item 6.4. Can I get a motion to amend?
Motion to amend.
Can I get, are there any questions? All in favor, raise your hand, and that is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I'll ask Dr. McKnight to proceed.
Thank you, President Wolf. So today we bring forward our Human Resources and Development appointments that I will share at this time. And our first appointment for today is Mrs. Carla L. Lopez Arias as the supervisor from the Behavioral Health Department of Student Engagement, Behavioral Health, and Academics in the Office of Student and Family Support and Engagement in the Office of Teaching and Learning in Schools. Mrs. Lopez Arias has been employed with Montgomery County Public Schools for 15 years as a teacher, assistant school administrator, and most recently as an assistant principal at Richard Montgomery High School. Mrs. Lopez Arias looks forward to joining the Department of Student Engagement, Behavioral Health, and Academics to support all students and staff.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand, and that is unanimous.
Congratulations. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Desmond McCall as principal of Meadow Hall Elementary School. Mr. McCall has been employed with MCPS for 22 years as a teacher, staff development teacher, assistant principal, and most recently as principal intern at Brookhaven Elementary School. Mr. McCall has been excited to join the Meadow Hall community and looks forward to collaborating with stakeholders to ensure the success of all students and staff.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand, and that is unanimous.
Thank you. Next, we are bringing forward Mrs. Lita M. Yates as principal at Fox Chapel Elementary School. Mrs. Yates has been employed with MCPS for 29 years as a teacher, counselor, assistant principal, and most recently as principal intern at Fox Chapel Elementary School. Mrs. Yates looks forward to continuing her work in supporting the Fox Chapel community.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. That is unanimous.
Congratulations. Thank you, Ms. Wolf. That completes my appointments.
All right, Dr. McKnight, do you want to continue with recognitions? Okay. Trying to get.
Thank you so much. The first,
Go ahead.
thank you. The first recognition we have is the Superintendent's Annual Mark Mann Excellence and Harmony Award. The Mark Mann Excellence and Harmony Award was established in 1991 to honor the highest qualities and most significant accomplishments of the late Dr. Mark Mann, former principal of Parkland Junior High School. The award is presented annually to a Montgomery County Public Schools administrator who has shown exceptional performance in promoting academic excellence, positive human relations, and community outreach. Mr. Greg C. Mullenholtz, principal at Ashburton Elementary School, was selected as the recipient of the 2022 Mark Mann Excellence and Harmony Award for his dedication to providing a challenging academic program for every student. Mr. Mullenholtz is a visionary leader who strives for academic excellence and equity. He utilizes his staff's strengths and experiences in building relationships with students through nurturing connections and aspiring instructional gains. He continues to exemplify this in his own willingness to learn, grow, and reflect on his own practices through a leadership style exemplified by his daily dedication in supporting staff, students, and parents in all he does. Therefore, be it resolved that the Montgomery County Board of Education and the Interim Superintendent of Schools, we congratulate Mr. Gregory A. Mullenholtz on his accomplishments and on receiving the 2022 Mark Mann Excellence and Harmony Award.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand, and that is unanimous.
Thank you. The next recognition we have is the Counselor of the Year Awards. The Montgomery County Public Schools Counselor of the Year Award is celebrated to focus attention on the unique contributions of professional school counselors and the tremendous impact school counselors have in helping students in the county achieve school success, plan for a career, and become college and career ready. Students' school achievement closely is linked to their successful learning and development, and the school counselors especially are trained to address the needs of all students and support their academic, personal, interpersonal, career, and healthy development. School counselors are committed to students and their education, identify barriers to learning, utilize data-based decision-making, implement research-driven prevention and intervention strategies, evaluate outcomes, and improve accountability. It is appropriate that Montgomery County Public Schools recognizes the vital role school counselors play in the personal and academic development of students by honoring the best of the best with the Montgomery County Public Schools Counselor of the Year Award, one school counselor from each school level. Now therefore be it resolved, on behalf of the Interim Superintendent of Schools, staff members, students, and families, and the members of the Board of Education, we congratulate the winners of the 2022 Montgomery County Public Schools Counselor of the Year Awards. And the recipients are Mrs. Lauren A. Ioli, School Counselor at Wilson Wims Elementary School, Mrs. Catherine M. Mendelson, School Counselor at Kingsview Middle School, and Dr. Nikki D. Jarquin as Resource Counselor at Gaithersburg High School.
Move it. Move approval.
All in favor, raise your hand. That is unanimous.
We can clap for him again. Thank you so much for serving as the heartbeats for our school. We really appreciate all that you do, and all of the counselors in Montgomery County Public Schools. Our next recognition is recognition of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning Pride Month. The month of June 2022 has been designated as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, and Questioning Pride Month, which presents all of us with the opportunity to raise awareness of and peacefully protest issues that continue to face the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning community. Respect and equity are two of Montgomery County Public Schools' core values, embodying our commitment to eliminating institutional barriers to student success and ensuring equitable practices across classrooms and workplaces in an effort to serve, support, and include all students. 2022 marks the 52nd anniversary of the first Gay Pride March, which was held on June 28, 1970, to commemorate the 1969 Stonewall riots. The event is considered to be the birth of the modern lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning movement. All Montgomery County Public Schools staff members, teachers, specialists, administrators, and support professionals annually are trained and work to create a supportive, inclusive environment that serves all students and families with care, compassion, and professionalism. In acknowledgement of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, and Questioning Month, we take time to celebrate that Montgomery County Public Schools is committed to a safe, inclusive school environment where all students and staff are engaged in learning and are active participants in the school community because they feel accepted and valued. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we must acknowledge past discriminatory practices if we are to co-create a safe and inclusive present. We recognize any past harm that impacted our students, staff, and the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning community. By acknowledging and learning from the past, we embrace our present more fully and shape our future with renewed confidence and commitment. Therefore, be it resolved that the Montgomery County Board of Education and the Interim Superintendent of Schools hereby declare the month of June 2022 to be recognized as the annual observance of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, and Questioning Pride Month in Montgomery County Public Schools, and we encourage students, parents, guardians, and community members to actively honor the courage and contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning community in Montgomery County, the state, and the nation.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item on the agenda is public comments. Public comments, give them a minute to get out. I'll give them a second. Public comments is one of our opportunities to hear the views and receive the advice of community members. Board members will take your comments into consideration, but it is not our practice to take action at this time on issues that are raised. We encourage public input on policy, program, and practices. This is not the proper avenue to address specific student or employee matters, so we encourage everyone to utilize existing avenues of redress for complaints. This is a public meeting, and we expect the conduct of all speakers and members of the audience to be within the bounds of proper etiquette. Inappropriate personal remarks, rude retorts, or other such behavior is out of order and will not be tolerated. Those who demonstrate disruptive or disrespectful behavior during public comments may be asked to leave the room. Please check our website for information about upcoming board meetings, hearings, and work sessions, including any changes to our meeting start times. We have 8 people, actually one has dropped off. We have 7 people now signed up to provide in-person testimony. Each speaker will receive 2 minutes for comments. When your name is called, please approach the table, speak clearly and directly into the microphone. 30 seconds prior to the expiration of a speaker's time, a yellow light will go on accompanied by a beep. A red light and a buzzer signals that your time has expired. Please push the flat button below the microphone to turn it on and begin speaking. Push the same button once more at the sound of the buzzer to turn it off. In addition to our in-person speakers today, we have 7 video testimony presentations. We will play these submissions once the in-person testimonies have concluded. Copies of testimonies can be found on board docs where they are posted with the other materials for the meeting. At this time, I'll call Laura Stewart, Sam Ross, and Gretchen Gilmore to the table. Go ahead, Ms. Stewart.
Good afternoon, President Wolf, Vice President Silvestri, and board members. My name is Laura Stewart, and I'm here as the MCCPTA CIP Chair. I have been here before on October 28, 2019, advocating for open data. I explained then how frustrating it is as an advocate to get so much potentially useful information in PDFs in an unsortable format. We pointed out to you other jurisdictions that provide data in a sortable format like Chicago, Dale County, and DC Public Schools. So I was encouraged when I saw a $278,000 contract that was awarded in February 2021 to WXY in order to expand their interactive data tool to include downloadable school-specific data. This would be a start in the right direction. In July of that year, we met with WXY so we could share the kind of data we would like to see in this tool. Unfortunately, we haven't heard any updates since that time. This morning, a $1.7 billion FY 23 to 28 capital improvement program passed the County Council. Unfortunately, even with unprecedented state aid, this budget included 8 school project delays. As an advocate, it is imperative that we're able to advocate effectively for our school budget. The master plan I have in my hand right here is full of useful PDFs, but it's not downloadable data that you can use easily. So in the past, in order to sort out patterns, I have spent multiple weekends entering data into my own spreadsheets. Since then, I have developed relationships with useful MCPS staff, and I have asked and received some spreadsheets. I don't believe that access to busy personnel should be the way usable data is shared. The CIP is just one example of the problem with PDFs. Fellow advocates spend countless hours also getting data into usable formats. I encourage you to work with WXY in collaboration with MCPTA to continue this work. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Ross. Yes.
Hello, Board. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Sam Ross, and I'm a 9th grader at Montgomery Blair High School. I'd first like to thank my incredible fellow students for coming out today to share their thoughts on this issue. I'm here because I think we can expand our virtual support for students and their mental health. With telehealth now in our mental health tools for students, I like to propose the addition of online groups for students to share their experiences with mental health and a counselor or mental health professional facilitating. Mental health is a crisis in MCPS, and almost every single student has a story. Depression, sadness, stress, or any other number of serious mental health issues affecting their life. Students know the issue is bad. We don't need to be told again. What we need is active, large steps to help us. We have an easy way to start. Our Minds Matter, a mental health club that's in several of our schools already. Our Minds Matter is student-led with a staff member facilitating that many agree should be implemented across all our middle and high schools. And while not every school may have a sponsor, several students interested in leading, or even knowledge of the program, if we expand this opportunity to the entire county to meet virtually, this option could be open to all. Online expanded groups could equalize the disparities between what has interest and sponsors across different schools, because the mental health crisis doesn't care where you live. The power for students to support students isn't something we need to give only to a few schools. An Our Minds Matter testimony from their website says, I've expressed this before, but having that hour to talk about our mental health and other things helped me understand myself better. It helped me in ways I can't even describe. We can also go further than Our Minds Matter. There are countless opportunities we can use to foster online spaces for students to support students. The COVID-19 pandemic created increase the amount of students dealing with the loss of someone close to them. We can create the space for students to share their experiences and support each other. We all know mental health is a crisis in MCPS. We all want a better outcome for each other, so let's take the next step and use the framework we've set for telehealth and use it to hold the space for students to support each other on the issues that they face every single day. Thank you for your time, and please consider adding online countywide platform for student support groups to our plan to support student mental health.
Go ahead.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to see y'all again. My name is Gretchen Gilmore, and I'm a sophomore at Wooten High School. I'm here today to talk about ways to use the telehealth platform to increase support for MCPS through student support groups. With the new funds for telehealth, we can add student support groups that are few and far between in the county with students and teachers interested in facilitating. One organization I would like to highlight is Our Minds Matter, an example of a student-led group that aims to create change. It isn't available as a club in every MCPS high school, despite being a great opportunity for support. Let's take advantage of the technology we are lucky to have access to, especially when every student should have access to mental health resources regardless of what their zip code is. Queer/trans specific supports could also be incredibly effective. We know that mental health is nothing short of a crisis, especially for students. It's exhausting watching my peers dealing with the responsibilities of teenage life while dealing with mental health. I don't want to hear about how the pandemic has hurt our mental well-being anymore. I want to hear about how we use the increase in virtual resources to fix it. Counselors and school psychologists can only do so much. This is one of those moments when students are saying, I know how you can help us. Please listen to us and we can work together. Online and expanded support groups can allow us to address the problem so we can get back to what we need to focus on. I ask that we're communicating with students about the programs that they feel they would benefit from. This can be done through practice we've already been seeing, like surveys and focus groups. I thank you for your time and ask you to consider using student support groups on the upcoming telehealth platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll call, and I apologize in advance if I say your name incorrectly, Bezawit Jazesi, Blue Lawback, and Hannah Solomon. And you could speak in that order that you were called.
Hello, board. My name is Bezwick Gessisa, and I'm a 9th grade student at Montgomery Blair High School. Thank you so much for having me. I'm here today to talk about utilizing our new virtual counseling platform to further develop student support. With the new distribution of telehealth for students in the budget, we have the ability to add student support groups across the county. Even a few interested students and 1 or 2 interested facilitators can make a difference in our counseling platform. The types of student groups can range from anything, such as trauma support for students who experience traumatic events at school or outside of it, or a group for mentally ill students who need to turn to an adult or other students experiencing similar struggles. A good starting place is countywide platforms for Our Minds Matter, a club with curriculum MCPS already pays for, but that isn't taken advantage of around the county because of either too little interest, lack of a sponsor, or fear to step up and acknowledge the need for it. These aren't acceptable reasons a student goes without the great support an Our Minds Matter group can provide. Online and radically expanded support groups can cause an increase in student confiding in student counseling if students learn to be more comfortable with disclosing and opening up about their mental state. Some students won't feel comfortable about going straight to a counselor, and student support groups would help build that in order to get to the point of opening up to that counselor. MCPS needs to understand and take advantage of the resources we have and focus on making it accessible and known to students. Programs for students should also have students at the front of the initiatives. Asking students for their opinions on needed support groups and what they are interested in focusing on is something MCPS needs to cater to. Thank you for your time and consideration. I encourage you to recognize the need for student support groups and their expansion on the upcoming telehealth platform for MCPS.
Hello, board. It is my pleasure to be speaking with you all today. My name is Blue Lawback. I am a junior at Walter Johnson High School, and I'd like to talk to you all about how MCPS can improve our mental health services through telehealth. I myself have struggled with mental health, and luckily I've been able to get the help I needed, but not everyone has this opportunity. I've seen many students with unaided mental health struggles, and they haven't done very well. Making sure students are okay should be the MCPS's top priority, as you cannot learn if you are not emotionally stable. The pandemic has negatively affected students' mental health, which has affected them in all areas of their lives, not just school. With the new telehealth allocations for students in the budget, we can add student support groups across the county. A place to start is countywide platforms from Our Minds Matter, a club in MCPS. These clubs are unutilized unlike they should be. Sadly, many students do not know that these clubs exist, which causes these clubs to be empty and not allow them to reach their full potential. Telehealth is incredibly common currently, as it's been a large space for support during the pandemic. Support through programs like Our Minds Matter and creating countywide support groups can help the morale and mental health altogether. Online and expanded support groups can create amazing friendships, bonds, and circles of support that are needed right now. It is time for MCPS to step up and use the resources that we have to provide for students, and they should be at the front of this initiative. Students are important, and if they cannot be safe mentally and physically healthy, their school and life experience will not be up to par. Thank you for your time and consideration. I urge you to consider expanding mental health support groups on the upcoming telehealth platform for MCPS. Thank you.
Hello, Board. I'd like to preface by thanking you for giving I and many others the opportunity to address you today, whether that be in person or via video. My name is Hannah Solomon, and I'm in my final year at Tacoma Park Middle School. As we approach the end of the year, we begin to view our achievement, growth, and success in hindsight, reflecting upon the good that's presented itself to us in several different forms, from the development of unions, or reunions for that matter, of organizations subject to post-COVID circumstances, to the success of the previous year's petitioning for the integration of more inclusive material and curricula spanning across the county. Paralleling that of our accomplishment and growth are the ways in which we can improve upon what we've already done and what we feel still needs being done. Today I speak to you on behalf of an issue on which I'm sure you've already heard the unwavering student, staff, and teacher voices. Returning from a year that for some was entirely virtual was not particularly easy, something that my school on an individual level could attest to. For us, the leading trait of COVID-19 had been its disconnect, and from that disconnect some very real conflicts like issues with mental health and personal welfare. I hope to expand upon our mental health resources in my school and others beyond things like Zen-Dens and good counselors, taking additionally what we've been introduced to throughout virtual instruction, such as the use of a virtual platform. In fully utilizing the allocation for telehealth in the operating budget, we would be able to reinforce the disparities made so vast by what is sometimes lack of interest, sponsors, or willingness to advocate. By facilitating support groups already paid for by MCPS, like Our Minds Matter, we'd be facilitating groups in which a great dedication resides, a particular fierceness for providing students, both within my school and others, the space to be unapologetically open and allowing them to thrive after doing so. It's important that we take action now rather than later, imperative that we are working towards becoming the proactive, not reactive county that we strive to be, especially throughout the duration of the school year. The expansion of telehealth resources such as Our Minds Matter would only be a step in that direction, and a large one at that. Thank you so much for your consideration. I truly implore you to recognize the absolute significance behind weighing the opinions of students, staff, and parents, all of which are the true stakeholders of this county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our final in-person speaker is Lisa Gitterman.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lisa. I'm a homeschool parent of MCPS, and I attended MCPS myself from kindergarten through 12th grade. I got a full scholarship to a good school. I graduated magna cum laude, and I've made a lot of money in my career as a bartender. I came here to say that the education system in this country and this county do not prepare students for success the way that we would hope, and to share my ideas about how to make it better. For better or worse, COVID has made us question things we might never have, not least of which how to teach our children. In the midst of an education crisis, where teachers are resigning at an alarming rate, distrust of institutions is high, and we're looking at a probable resurgence of an infectious disease with repercussions that we can't even predict, school is entirely too focused on results. This emphasis on results as a measure of success is a mistake. As we move forward in this new world, let's think about how we can shift the focus from academic rigor to the love of learning. What does this look like? Primarily, letting children have more say in their own curriculum. They know what they're interested in learning more about if you give them a chance to choose. The future artist should not have to learn math at the same pace as the future engineer. This is how we found ourselves with an entire generation of burnt out, underemployed, former straight-A students who work 2 jobs and can't pay their bills. If we accept the premise that the job market is oversaturated with people with expensive and arguably unhelpful degrees, then perhaps we should be reevaluating whether the way we foster our kids' development in school is even helpful. How do we do that? We invest in and build up our communities. We make homeschool cooperatives accessible to everyone, and we move away from the one-size-fits-all public school model that is no longer serving us. Let's celebrate each other's differences instead of forcing everyone to fit a mold that's become too crowded. What would make this county extraordinary is the understanding that every child is different, every child learns differently, and our job is to guide them to meet their full potential, their sole purpose in this world. Change never happens as quickly as I would like, I'll admit that, but what I'm asking of every person hearing this is if you find it in your power to encourage the children you're responsible for, and y'all are on the board, so that's a lot, to embrace their unique selves through learning, that you do it. Thank you.
We have your testimony.
Got it.
Thank you. You made it. We received 7 video testimonies. First up is Nathaniel Rockwood. Please play the video.
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Education. My name is Nathan Rockwood, and I am a teacher at Quince Orchard High School. I appreciate this opportunity to provide public comment on behalf of myself and my fellow educators in the Montgomery County Education Association. During this county's ongoing struggle with COVID-19, our students have returned to full-time in-person school hungry to reconnect with their peers and MCPS staff and to re-engage in learning. But many are still suffering from the trauma of severe illness, economic hardship, and even the death of loved ones. We see increases in student depression and misbehavior, and stress levels are high for both students and staff. We recognize that the board's adoption of the Leader in Me program is an attempt to provide the support our students so desperately need. However, the Leader in Me curriculum's hyper-focus on promoting effectiveness and perseverance and its reliance on didactic approaches to lesson delivery have been counterproductive. Even worse, at times the materials provided have a racist tinge that has offended teachers and students alike. We're grateful to learn that the Leader in Me curriculum is being revised, and we hope it will receive a major overhaul. Our students need opportunities to heal from the hardships they have faced. They need organic opportunities to share and learn with one another how to build a cooperative community. And we educators need lesson models that help us create a learning environment that affirms and supports our young people. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Kasha Hayes.
Good afternoon. My name is Kasha Hayes, and I am the parent of 3 MCPS students, 2 of whom attend Forest Knolls Elementary, where I serve as the PTA president. On May 17th, the U.S. Marshal Service executed an arrest warrant at a house adjacent to the school. While second graders ate lunch outdoors, they witnessed an unidentified plainclothes officer carrying a large rifle 100 feet away from them. They thought he was an active shooter on school property. Thankfully, FKES leadership and staff acted quickly to usher our children to safety. The suspect was apprehended on school grounds. This incident caused the entire school to go into an emergency lockdown. Students and staff were terrified. That afternoon, our principal sent a vague district-approved email to families about the incident, which made no mention of a gun. Students went home to caregivers who were ill-equipped to support their children as they were completely unaware of what their children witnessed. The next day, PTA leaders submitted a letter to elected officials and MCPS board and leadership. While we are glad to have received responses from several elected officials, we heard nothing from MCPS's central office until we sent multiple emails. 6 days after the incident, Dr. Jennifer Webster requested a meeting with our PTA board, administration, and some district leadership. We are grateful a dangerous individual living in our community was apprehended. However, we have deep concerns about the lack of communication from MCPS to our community. With the district's emphasis on mental health well-being, how could MCPS not immediately reach out to our community to find out how they could support us? At a minimum, MCPS should have sent a message of care to our traumatized students and their families, given honest and transparent communication, and provided a timeline for next steps. We are disappointed in Brenda Wolf and Shebra Evans, who have not shown any support to our hurting community. We are asking MCPS to ensure that for any future incidents, they provide timely and complete information instead of vague emails. Further, we want you to conduct an investigation as to what happened and how to avoid it in the future, and hold a town hall for FKES with MCPS, police, and other stakeholders so our community can feel seen and heard. Thank you.
Next is Allison Bennett.
Hello, Board of Education. My name is Allison Bennett. I am a senior at BCC High School. I'm here with a couple of my friends to talk about how MCPS can improve mental health services throughout the county. I'm in private therapy for mental health issues. Thousands of MCPS students cannot afford that, so I'd like to applaud you for allocating funds for telehealth services. Therapists are expensive, and thousands of students will benefit from them. However, something else MCPS can do is create Our Minds Matter clubs throughout the county. My school does have one, and it's a great place for us to talk about mental health issues. I quit substance abuse about 8 months ago, and I've been able to talk about it at my school's Our Minds Matter club meetings. And honestly, I've also been teaching my friends about it, because and just like why it was simply an issue. For example, we're talking about our mental health issues with each other, and talking with other people our age can be pretty helpful, I'd have to say, because the thing is, like, when you're talking with an adult about something, they have different life experiences because they're at a different stage in their lives, if that makes sense, and kids our age, we're at a similar stage in our lives. Recently, we also had an informative lesson about autism, and I'm pretty sure we shared it with a bunch of people across our school in our, advisory sessions. We've been sharing these mental health resources around our school as well, in general, and for example, we wrote a bunch of comments on sticky notes, posted them around the school, and it was really sweet when my friend of mine gave me one. And I think that every school is going to benefit from having an Our Minds Matter club, and I want every MCPS school to adopt one once I'm out of it, and at this point, literally the next day is the last day of school, so thank you.
Next is Allison Sweeney.
Greetings, Superintendent McKnight and members of the Board of Education. My name is Allison Sweeney, and I'm a sophomore at Poolsville High School. I'm speaking to you today with a collective of students from across the county to advance mental health resources in schools through the implementation of more school psychologists and personnel dedicated to student well-being. There is no denying the debilitating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and prolonged isolation on students, teachers, and parents. It has exacerbated existing disparities between students in different clusters, and the issue of mending the achievement gap has come to the forefront. My last testimony in early February, shortly after the shooting at Magruder High School, and the need for more mental health personnel is just as pertinent today. Afterwards, I spoke with my principal, and we discussed actionable steps that administration could take to promote wellness in the Poolsville community. I told him, frankly, sir, we need more people that students can talk to. Wellness centers are not at every school, and there's a dire shortage of available individuals to meet the needs of students. Asynchronous materials such as hotlines and homework support are available, but not aptly promoted. To engage students, perhaps most important stakeholders in our education system, individuals who provided testimony were contacted to participate in focus groups. I was on the working group to create safe and equitable schools. While a number were invited, I was one of 2 students in attendance, and we met twice. The genesis of the program was to include students in the decisions rather than impose them and expect students to subsequently speak their mind. The CEO program was never raised as a viable solution, and students were unaware of the unaware until the letter was sent to families. It is stated how students were involved in the process, but they were unaware of its consideration, and the students it spoke of were from a very limited range from across the county. Town halls to hear a breadth of student perspectives and their needs is critical to devising solutions that can protect and serve all students. It is imperative that students and policymakers collaborate on decisions impacting students, especially as mental health support is one of the greatest investments we can make in our students. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Next is Sophie Nugent.
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Education. My name is Sophie Nugent, and I'm a 9th grade student at Rockville High School. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide testimony today. For years, we have heard from countless students about the need for increased mental health services following the pandemic. Now that we have allocated funding towards expanding wellness rooms and offering telehealth services to all students, the only question is how can we continue to enhance these new additions? Along with the implementation of these telehealth services, we could start by utilizing existing student-led support groups, such as Our Minds Matter, so that students can share their experience with each other. Since some of these mental health groups are not available in each middle and high school, it is vital that we make them accessible to all students across the county through a virtual platform. There have been many scenarios where students have not felt comfortable talking to their school counselor, whether it is because there's stigma surrounding mental health or their work schedules are completely overburdened. Students can feel inclined to open up if they are met with peer-to-peer support and can actively engage with the rest of their school community. Frankly, this conversation is not new, but I believe that MCPS has done a great job listening to the voices of students, teachers, and parents and following through with their promises, some of which we will see implemented in the upcoming school year. However, the transition and accessibility of these telehealth services are the matter at hand. With that being said, I urge you to consider expanding county-wide student support groups on the new telehealth platform so that it is readily available to all students who need them. Thank you for your time.
Next is Carrie Paulson.
Hello, I'm Carrie Paulson, mother of 2 gifted MCPS students. Being the parent of a gifted child in this school district has been an exercise in frustration. We are told time and again MCPS believes in equity for all. We have not experienced equity. The schools and teachers know what services they are supposed to provide. They know how to talk a good game, but they don't have the time or energy to push the gifted children forward when their data already meets the criteria. Our gifted children make the schools look good, but they are not served by the schools. I've had my children come home crying because they don't get to go to growth parties because their MAP scores have not increased enough. The principal of that school told me there's no way they can show growth since they're already in the 99th percentile. Being gifted has been a punishment for my children, causing anxiety, depression, and mental health issues. I am grateful that some changes have been made to the curriculum since my 10th grader went through middle school. I'm grateful my 6th grade daughter has the opportunity to take gifted courses at her home middle school. It's unfortunate the teachers at her school don't seem to have training or understanding on how to work with gifted children. I've seen the assignments given to the students at the MLK Humanities program. They're challenging but exciting for gifted kids. The assignment my daughter receives in Global Humanities are so difficult that I often don't understand them, and I have a BA in English education. Both of my kids are scientists at heart. They want to terraform planets, discover new elements. They want to explore galaxies and the depths of the ocean. But there are no advanced classes for them. There is no scientific cohort for them. In a district this size, it's baffling that we can't stand up gifted and magnet programs in every cluster. Why does a student's zip code within the same school district determine their educational options? I'm tired of hearing about equity and mental health when my own kids have been left by the wayside. Why can't we have real options that allow our children to thrive where they are?
Next is Aparna Ganesh and Hannah Donart.
Hello, board members. My name is Aparna Ganesh, and I'm a sophomore at Richard Montgomery High School. I know what I'm about to say is something I've heard over and over again for the past few months. But for me, this hasn't just been a change in statistics or an increase in numbers. It means losing a very influential person in my life. Janice Sampson was a band teacher in MCPS for around 36 years. She also happened to be my flute choir conductor, a mentor, and a friend to me as well as our other students. She had faced many challenges in her life, but due to COVID, she passed away. It hurts to think that the situation could have been prevented if someone in the line of transmission was wearing a mask or following recommended guidelines. I hope we can move forward and try to put measures in place to help protect students and staff. It really does make a difference in the community.
I'm testifying today as an MCPS mom and public health scientist. I'm here to support Aparna and all students and staff impacted by this pandemic and ask that you reinstate universal masking until we are in low transmission per CDC updated metrics. We have been in moderate transmission for weeks now per CDC guidance. We also know that this number is underreported and cases are actually much higher in our community. Last time I testified, I advocated for the Board of Ed to provide a clear health-based metric for an on-ramp to universal masking in the case of another surge. We're in the midst of another surge now, and we still do not have any clear policy from the Board of Ed on what this metric is. How many students and staff need to be infected? How many lives are we willing to put at risk before we employ this mitigation layer? Our students and staff are on the front lines without this critical effective safety net to prevent widespread transmission. Loved ones in our community are still losing their lives, and many like Aparna are bearing witness to these glaring losses. I am asking you to do what you can to better protect our children and staff so that they can finish out the school year knowing that our leaders are doing everything they can to protect them and keep those they care about safe. Reinstating universal masking during this current surge will set a precedent for prioritizing our students' health and well-being now and proactively prepare for potential future surges. As we know, we will be living with COVID for quite a while.
This concludes our public comments. The next business meeting of the Board of Education is Tuesday, June 7th. Sign-ups for public comment will open the evening of Tuesday, May the 31st. At this time, I'll ask my fellow board members if they have any comments. Please turn your light on. Ms. O'Looney?
Yes, I just wanted to thank the many students who came out to testify today. I really appreciated sharing your creative solutions about mental health. So often our discussions about mental health are, as you all stated, focused on the problem at hand and not necessarily solution-oriented. So thank you so much for the reminder of the multiplicative impact that an already existing program could have if we just learn to utilize our virtual resources a little bit better. I hope we can have some people follow up with you to talk a little bit more about Our Minds Matter and how we can expand that. I did have a question. I don't know if we're able to get this response right now at the board table in regards to our last two testimonies about where we are with COVID cases and transmission in schools right now and where we need to be to bring back universal masking.
Thank you for the question, Ms. O'Looney. So we are continuing to monitor the case rates and transmission in schools. The information is updated daily on the COVID dashboard. There was no specific threshold that was set when there would be universal masking required. We have sent out community information and school information recommending masks in alignment with the guidelines that came from the county government and that they put out as well. And we continue to collaborate with the Department of Health and Human Services at least 2 or 3 times a week in conversations about where we are and steps we need to take. Their recommendations have very much focused on mitigation that's focused on individual schools or classrooms where there are outbreaks, and so in those cases there are additional mitigation measures put in place, such as required masks for a particular class or a particular school for a period of time.
Thank you.
Dr. Joftis?
Thank you, President Wolf. I too want to thank the students for your work, but I wanted to focus on Ms. Stewart's testimony related to the data transparency. And Mr. DeAndre, I thought if you could just kind of give us an update as to where we are with that work.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Joftis. We have collaborated with representatives from the Montgomery County Council of PTAs on multiple occasions and have been looking at ways to start taking steps to be able to provide more information in formats that are easily accessible and easily downloadable. And so where we are starting with, based on conversations with MCCPTA, is with information that's in our Schools at a Glance reports, and I think you'll be seeing more information coming out over the summer. I know you will over the summer, and then we will continue to evaluate the best path moving forward, because we definitely want to make sure that we're providing information transparently, but also providing information in a way that provides information for families in the community.
Thank you. And then is the goal to extend beyond the Schools at a Glance work, like into some of the other areas like the CIP data and things of that sort?
Yes, we're definitely committed to continuing the conversations with MCCPTA and others. That was the recommendation from one of the MCCPTA officers to start with the conversations around the schools at a glance reports.
Thank you.
Can I just follow up to Dr. Jofta's question? The contract was quite a while ago, I believe. Is there a timeline, an actual timeline in the contract for completion or for delivery?
What they do.
I would need to check on the contract and follow up with you on that.
I'll have that go. All right, Ms. Smandrowski?
Yep, I too want to start off by thanking all of our speakers, particularly our students. Thank you for coming all the way out here. I had one question in reference to what they were addressing about the telehealth and, you know, where we are as a system with the process of that and how we can look at involving the peer aspect of it, the peer aspect of it. And then I also had a question about the GT discussion or testimony that was had, but I'll let you address the first thing.
Okay, no, I'm so glad you brought that back. Thank you, students, for coming forward. Every time you come and share what the on-the-ground experiences are, it allows us to be able to figure out what we need to do next. And it was clearly formed what we will do next, which is I'm going to charge the staff to be able to go back and explore and identify ways in which we can promote the club, Our Minds Matter Club that you were speaking of, because we need to first figure out why is it not as expansive as you're saying it could be and should be in the schools. And if you find it helpful, I'm sure many of your peers do. So that'll be our first step. And I thank you for coming forward and sharing that as a realistic example of something that we can do that is benefiting you currently and something that we can expand. So today I will charge the staff to go back and maybe follow up with some of you to talk specifically about what some of the barriers may be in being able to expand that. And one of the testimonies, someone brought forward the Leader in Me curriculum, I believe, as well. And I did want to say, fortunately, the curriculum has been revised to address some of the concerns. It was Mr. Rockwood, I think, that brought it up. Have been revised to address some of the very things that he brought up. Our staff have been very diligent in working with the consultants and those who've been a part of bringing that program to Montgomery County. So the more we get feedback, the more we're able to go back and share that with them so that they can make their adaptations quickly.
It looks like Mr. D'Angelo has something, but.
I was just going to chime in. We do have staff members here that could speak specifically to that if you would like. Okay.
And I was gonna say, come on.
Yeah,
if
come
you
on.
want to. And also, just in general, the telehealth aspect, have we started implementing that? If we could throw that in there, it would be great. Thanks.
Why don't we just go ahead and start with where we are with the telehealth implementation? Yeah, telehealth implementation.
Exactly.
And
Is there a peer aspect?
the Our Minds Matter Club. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. And the opportunities for expansion if we're ready to do that. But I do still want us to follow up and just kind of look at where we are with the current state with it right now. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. McKnight. And greetings, board members. Damon Monteleone, Assistant Chief, here with members from Student Family Support and Engagement. And I would have Dr. Conley speak to some of the details, but I did want to say that starting with telehealth, we've been having conversations about that over the last several months, if not since the new year began. And there is an RFP that is out right now that closes on June 14th, and that we expect to have expanded telehealth services available for students by the start of the school year. Additionally, with Leader in Me, we are very appreciative of the vendor. We've been working diligently with them all year long. They have been very responsive, and we do have clear examples of the feedback we have given, examples of the modifications to specific lessons, right, based on that, and we're sharing that with cohorts. Additionally, we're getting data, it's called MRA data, it's essentially a second semester data set based off the first semester baseline, where we asked all the schools that are involved in cohort 1 a series of questions that come along with the curriculum that essentially paint a picture of landscape of where that school is in terms of its culture and its SEL and things of that nature. So we'll have that second semester data for those cohort 1 schools very soon, by the end of the year. That's being administered now to be able to compare. Additionally, we were able to partner with OSA to develop some valid voice data questions that are being, and that survey is being administered with, I believe, students, staff, and parents in cohort 1s, grades 5, 8, and 10. So we'll have that data as well to compare with that MRA data. And finally, with the information that we've gotten back from the vendors, we'll bring all of this back to our focus groups and our stakeholders and share this, and then be able to bring the results to senior leadership so we can assess where we are with the program as we move forward. In terms of Our Minds Matter, I think there are opportunities to expand it. We've heard clearly, and we appreciate the solutions that students brought forward. I think Dr. Conley could certainly speak to that as well, or any of the other details if you had further questions.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for having us here and to talk about the Our Minds Matter Club. So this is our second year of implementation, and so we are excited that we've been able to implement it in 16 of our high schools, and we continue to work with our Minds Matter representative through the National Our Minds Matter group. I know she regularly reaches out to those high schools who do not have clubs and trying to figure out, so what are some of the barriers as to why they have not been able to start them, and trying to recruit students, because sometimes it's a mixture. Some, they can't find a sponsor. Others, they don't have enough students to form the club, because you have to have a certain number of students to form a club. But we do regularly reach out to the administration at the building, to the mental health staff at the building, to try to make sure those clubs continue to be formed. We do have 2 pilots at 2 of our middle schools, and we hope to expand it for all middle schools next year. And so now that we have our new mental health coordinator who works under me, she will be responsible for continuing that partnership with the schools and helping to expand these clubs in our buildings.
I appreciate that. Hopefully we have stipends for teachers to be able to help support clubs like that as well at all of our schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
Yeah, and I'll just, since I have you here, follow up quickly in thanking again the students for their very focused and very substantive advocacy, because it speaks to what you know about what's working and where we need to improve in our schools, because you're the customers. But on the Our Minds Matter, so 2 questions I have, or maybe 3. So I know the initial implementation of Our Minds Matter is grant funded by the Devin C. Rubenstein Foundation. And one question I have is, are we ready to continue the support for these programs once that funding goes away, if it does?
Yeah, so right now we have a 5-year MOU with the Devin C. Rubenstein Foundation to pay for the Our Minds Matter clubs. And right now they have not provided anything saying like they want to continue with this. And they continue to fundraise to help to pay for this initiative. But if we learn that they do not, then we will try to go to the MCPS Education Foundation to see what other funds are available to help us in supporting the clubs as well, and working with the national group to see what other options do we have in order so that the clubs can continue in MCPS.
Okay, because I think everything we hear from students is they're very valuable. This is not a resource we want to let slip. And then I know when I met with the Watkins Mill Our Minds Matter group a year ago, and at that time their sponsor was Ms. Margaret Neff, their school psychologist. And one of the things that we talked about was barriers. And one of the things that she mentioned was, because of the nature of this work, it's very student driven, but the content that the students work on and discuss, that you can't just be a random anybody raise their hand to be the club sponsor. They have to be basically clinically trained or have some mental health background in training, so school psychologist, a clinical social worker, a school counselor, something like that. And so to the extent, so you mentioned some schools it's finding a sponsor. What are we looking at ways to possibly incentivize people, with the necessary background and training to sponsor, Our Minds Matter clubs in all of our high schools? And do we, I'm guessing it's possible that you don't have to be necessarily staff in a specific school to be an Our Minds Matter sponsor, as long as you can get there for the requisite planning meetings and the meetings with the students?
I have to talk to Ms. Cherry about that in terms of the rules for being a club sponsor. But now, yes, one of the things I'm working with them is that they do hope that there is a mental health staff member who can be at least one of the co-sponsors. So there are clubs where there's a parer or a teacher who is the sponsor with the mental health practitioner, so that it's not just on the one person.
Yeah.
And so many of the clubs in the schools do have two people who help in supporting it. And there is the stipend for if you are a 10-month staff member that you can get, like any other club sponsor in a school, to support them with that as well. But we are always looking for additional ways to help to incentivize so that we can, just like any other clubs, to support and making sure we have enough sponsors for all the clubs in the schools.
Yeah, and one thing that Ms. Neff had mentioned a year ago was that at that time, so many of our school psychologists were 10-month employees, 10-month plus 2. But I think we have kind of gotten around a little bit of that. So hopefully that issue is dwindling. But it's interesting that you say at some schools you can't find the students, the critical mass of students, and maybe connecting students at those schools with their peers at other schools that have very active Our Minds Matters, so those students would be great cheerleaders, because I haven't talked to a student that's involved in Our Minds Matter that doesn't think they're incredibly, incredibly valuable. And I know, I think it was our last meeting, you were talking about kind of the training up piece of Our Minds Matter would sort of serve the role of some other programs out there like Sources of Strength, because they really are helping students be supports for each other. Anyway, those are just my questions. And getting to Ms. Stewart's open data question, I do want to echo, I think, getting on, meeting with WXY and some of our community members, because I share the frustration. We have a website that is chock full of information. It is overwhelmingly full. But pretty much anything you look for, you're going to get a PDF. And it's probably going to be in alphabetical order if you were looking at schools, maybe by cluster. But what if I wanted to sort it by enrollment, or by, if I'm doing CIP, by the age of a building, or percentage of students who are ESOL? You can't sort anything. You just have a PDF, and then you have to go through and find it. It's quite time consuming. And if we can find a way to create that sort of sortable data tool, that I think is going to make the advocates' lives easier, but also, our lives easier too when we're going through that. So, yay. And then I just want to take just a quick little point of privilege as a former Edison teacher, and just call out. I was today. They're doing a fundraiser at Edison today to raise money to send their 10-state champion Skills USA students to nationals in Atlanta next month. And so, by the way, that fundraiser is going on until 8:30 tonight. So if you need your nails done, or they dyed my hair purple today, they did this, so head on over there. But I did just want to quickly recognize those 10 students. And so it's Jaden Wippenbeck, who also is an Edison WJ student who's going to compete in t-shirt design. Ritwik Dobriel, who's a WJ and Edison student, and Adam Lederer, who's a Clarksburg and Edison student, competing in cybersecurity. Donovan Bacall, who is a BCC student, and he will be competing in Action Skills Auto. Gabriela Garcia, who is at Springbrook High School. She's going to be competing in customer service. Just finished. Gerardo Rios, who I don't know what school he's from. He's going to be competing in plumbing. Allison Rowell, who is a Sherwood High School sophomore and the national champion in t-shirt design. And then from Einstein, we have Triana Peralta, who is the first place in first aid and CPR, and Zulima Esparza, who is first place in nail care. She did my nails today. So just a shout out to those students who, when we talk about recognizing students from maybe not necessarily just academic achievement, this is skills-based, life skills-based. And just, what they're doing and what those amazing teachers are doing to get those students to this place is just really, we should take a victory lap. So anyway, and if you're in those school communities where these students are, go to the Edison website, there's a big QR code. You can make a donation to support those students going to Skills USA, where I guarantee you we'll have more national champions.
Ms. O'Looney, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Dr. McKnight?
I just wanted to say thank you, one, for your support. The students, I know they were excited to provide those services, and it's just amazing to have that type of championship behind what they do. But I did want to say we will plan to bring back some information about where we are with the data for WXY. And I really like the idea of having our students who find the Our Minds Matter Club so meaningful to be able to connect with other students in places, because if it was a student interest issue and they don't see that it would be of value to them, how good would it be for them to hear from students who do see value in it? So I appreciate that and think that that's a great place to start.
May I ask if you have actual questions or comments? Well, okay.
Super brief. While you're here, I just wanted to reinforce the importance of once the RFP for the telehealth service closes on June 14th, making sure that it's tested by actual students, all the different services before we decide on which one to go with, because they know best what we need and what kind of virtual service will serve us best. Thank you.
And I wanted to thank the students for coming out today. They always tell us exactly what we should be doing. This was very helpful. I also wanted to respond to, I believe it was Miss, I wrote her name down, Miss Hayes, that mentioned Forest Knolls. I did receive your email. I don't want you to think that I didn't. I was waiting for follow-up information from MCPS as to exactly what happened before I responded. And I understand now that there is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow. So please, if you're not satisfied after that meeting, we can have further discussion. But we were waiting to get full information from the police department, I believe, before we responded. Thank you. Did you want to say something else, Ms. Harris? Your light is on. Okay. Thank you all. Next up, we have consent items. Is there any item anyone wishes to pull? All right, can I get a motion to move items 6.1 through 6.11 in block?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. Item number 7, can I get a motion to move 7.1 and 7.2 in block?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Is there any new business? Seeing none, item 8 is for information only. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you.